Here!
Oh! And he said looks like he was in the career, mate. Oh gosh.
What's up, everyone? This is King of Ruckus, and this is Team Deathmatch on the facility. I got my copy late, so I'm only level 45 or 46 right now. And I keep seeing the same couple of maps. Otherwise, I would have at least posted like City of Brass or something else. But it seems like I keep running into like high-rise, facility, airport, Team London, and Molten Ruins. I really don't see City of Brass or any other new maps too much. Some of you may or may not know that Sony, on November 18th, they're going to be cutting down the number of systems that you can have activated for your downloadable content. Instead of the 5 that they've got now, it'll go down to 2. Like for some people, for people who don't game share, it really won't matter too much. But it's going to hit people who have multiple systems in the house, or like, you know, if you live with your brother or sister, or if you got young kids and you like to share the stuff you buy amongst your systems, it's going to mess some people over. They're going to have to buy multiple copies, or they're going to have to keep going to their computer every single time they want to switch something over to a different system. And I just want to know what you guys think about that. For me, it's not too big a deal. You know, I really didn't do much game sharing, so it's not going to bother me. But for people who game share a lot, and like I mentioned before, for people who live in households with multiple systems, I can understand if they're going to be pretty pissed about it. And to me, it seems like another example of Sony, they're like taking stuff away. Like the further we get into this generation, the more they seem to take away from their system. And, you know, that's not a good thing. That's not something I want to see next generation. I'll put a link to the article. It's on, the one I read was on IGN. And I know a lot of people here on YouTube like trash IGN, but you know, a lot of us also read their articles a lot. So at least I'll speak for myself. I say I read their articles. I read theirs, GameSpot's, computer and video games, and a couple other sites. So I'll put a link to the article down in the description. You can check it out for yourself. Definitely post your opinion on it. This doesn't apply to all of you, but please don't be too fanboyish, man. Really trying to help put an end to that shit. I really am. It's like you get tired of it. You just get tired of people getting so defensive over a company. You know, that's one thing. One thing I want to say is I think this community could be doing a lot more, like in terms of gaming. But it seems like, at least the people I watch, or some of the people I watch, they're like divided, trolling each other all the time. You know, it's fun to mix things up every once in a while, but there's a lot of people here on YouTube. There's a lot of creative content, a lot of viewers, and I think if we try to all get on the same page, we could at least begin to stop some of the shit that's happening, like in terms of DLC being overpriced, games releasing, you know, not fully finished, you know, games that they're talking about DLC like before the game's halfway done, and you know they want you to pay. You know, the season pass thing, that's another thing. That's not really a deal if you think about it. It's not really much of a deal. And I'm not just calling out, you know, Uncharted 3. They're just the most recent company to do it. They're really more like following a trend. I mean, like just everybody, man. Gears of War, Rockstar. It's ridiculous. And it's something that, you know, if people don't get on the same page and stop supporting it, it's just going to keep getting worse. And I think people here on YouTube could help with that. I'm not saying we're like the end-all solution, but you think about it, there's like thousands upon thousands of people here, and if they really want to make a difference, they probably could. I've seen the Gamers Union, you know, proposal, and PlayStation University, and those things, nothing ever really happened with those things. They became I think it was Nova Phoenix that said they were more like treadmill projects, like people running in place and never really went anywhere. And again, that really, it just comes down to people actually wanting to do something. And I think it's more about, you gotta get people who don't have their own like secret agenda, that aren't gung-ho about having the quote-unquote PlayStation succeed or Xbox succeed. You got to put that aside and just think about gaming as a whole. You know, look at how the PC is doing things. That's a lot of what PC's doing. That's what I'd like to see consoles doing, like Steam, for example. I'd definitely like to see Steam come to consoles, or some sort of equivalent of Steam be on consoles. I'm tired of dealing with Microsoft's Carnival Point system, which basically sets the prices for Sony stuff. Although Sony, I like what Sony's doing with PlayStation Plus. There's a lot of games that I've played and that I'm playing, I never would have touched if I didn't have PlayStation Plus. The most recent one being Hydrophobia. I may put some footage of that up on my channel sometime soon, or over on Gameplay in HD. I'll see. But, you know, there's just a lot of stuff happening that shouldn't be happening. And I think if consumers really put their foot down, this is something that people have been saying for a while, but if consumers really put their foot down, you know, it cut back on it. Seriously cut down on the bullshit that happens. And in order for consumers to do that, they have to know what's going on. A lot of consumers, they don't find out about things until they're at the counter, and they just roll with it. But if you actually know what's going on, you should get people to think for themselves. You know, they'll make the decisions that'll benefit everybody in the long run. That's it for this video. I'll see you next time.